Pottery peeps. So I'm on the wheel and I got on it a couple of days ago. I can't stay on it for very long. For some reason after a knee surgery, sitting's tough, and getting up from sitting is even tougher. So I can't stay here for very long. So again, if you caught Saturday's video, I'm kind of giving myself a break, doing things that one and done kind of thing, and that doesn't take me a lot of time. I mentioned before that I've got things I need to make for a wedding. I'm doing all the centerpieces, 12 tables, and I need to get going on that because that is April 13th. So you guys who do pottery know how much lead time you have to have on something like that. And if I need to make 12, realistically, how many do I need to make? 16? Maybe 18, just in case. Especially if it gets down to the wire, and you never know what's going to happen when you throw it in a kiln. So what I'm going to make today is heart bowls, and it's just the bowl shape. It's morphing a regular bowl shape, and they're super simple. I find them super simple. Bowls are usually the first thing that you throw consistently well when you first start out with pottery, and so maybe give this a try. I found the potters that have been doing this the longest, the more they tend to morph their bowls. I don't want to generalize, but I personally get tired of round. It gets boring, so I want to do something different. So I love to morph the rim of my bowls, and this is one way that I do them. And I do try to keep a good stock of heart bowls in all the different sizes. From small, I'm going to do actually a set, 1, 2, 3, and it's usually pounders of BMX here. And that's usually what I do, is I'll do like a whole bunch of 1-pounders, whole bunch of 2-pounders, and then a few more. I don't do necessarily as many 3-pounders as I do the 2 and 1-pounders. But that way, if they want to do a set, they can make a nesting set, or if they just want one little bowl, and or even like bridesmaid gifts or those kind of things, that it's just you fill them with chocolate kisses, and it makes a really good wedding gift. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start. I'll get you lower down and we'll get started. So I'm just going to go, I'm not going to talk about centering, other than anybody who wants to learn how to throw pottery on the wheel. I believe anybody who wants to can. That this is a skill that's developed over time, and if given enough time, anybody can do it. So that's my little spiel that I tell my students on day one. Sometimes it takes people longer, sometimes it first time. I've seen people sit down at the wheel and they get it the first time. They might not get it the third time or fourth time, but they get it the first. All right, so got my little ball here, and I'm just going to go in with my thumbs. And this is reclaimed, so I might have some air bubbles in here. I didn't want to spend my limited time out here wedging too much. So I'm just going to pull this open. Then I'm going to compress this bottom, and I'm going to go from the outside in. And it's going to get a little swirl, because why not? I think they're interesting to have something there for the glaze to play on. A little design at the bottom of something, I really like it. And then I'm just going to pull up my walls into just kind of a squatty cylinder, compress that rim each time. And I'm really digging in with my finger here, really dig in to get that clay that seems to squat right there. There's this thing about water, leaving too much water. If you leave too much water in the bottom, it's going to weaken your bottom. If you can throw pretty fast, you don't really need to worry about water. Okay, so there's my bowl, just your standard bowl. I'm going to come in here. These ones I will probably trim a little bit, but I have done them where I just do a foot like this on them. But I'm just going to pull that clay up so I've got a place to put the wire. I'm just softening that in case I don't get to it. And then I always check that, make sure there isn't any other clay that I can pull into the bowl, just kind of slightly. Take your water off, smooth down your rim. And then the fun part, let's see if I can, no, I'm not going to be able to do this upside down, guys. So I will take the middle of my, and I just bring it in and I come directly across and I pull it out. And that's it. And you've got this cute little heart bowl. Okay, here's the 2-pounder. You can also, this exact design is good for mugs. I make heart mugs. And you just put the heart shape in when you're making the mug at the top. Or cappuccino style mug, you know? Yeah, this one's got air bubbles. If you know you have air bubbles, wedge it more, or not wedge it, cone up and cone down more, and that will help. It's really satisfying when you hear them pop. One of those just popped. But there's still another one. A good tip, oh, I took care of it right there. A good tip before you get pulling your walls, take your thumb. I never have to cut this thumbnail down if I'm throwing consistently. I come in here and I take that thumbnail and I make this little groove under here. And then it's easy for me to get my fingers clear down at the bottom and I don't get this like ribbon of clay that comes clear out here. I keep it really tidy in there. Let's see, you can check your bottom with a needle tool here if you want. And I'm just going to pull this out a bit, just consistently right toward my belly button, and then compress that bottom back to the middle. I usually, 3's are good. You don't have to really do more than 3. Probably don't even have to do 3, but, and then put in my swirl. Then I'm going to knock that swirl down so there's no sharp edges. And then I can go right back here. Actually, I got it a little too far out. And then pull up my cylinder. Now, if you have air bubbles, if you throw your walls too much, it'll throw off your piece. So once you feel an air bubble, take care of it. And then after I poke them, I will smooth them over. I think this was the 2-pound. Yeah, it's a 2-pound. 3 is still in the bag. Now I will tell my students at this point they should throw their wheel down or slow their wheel down. Okay, so I'm going to dig in there so that I can get that clay that squats there, because those of you who've been watching me for a while, I don't like to trim if I can get away with it. I want my pots as close to finish when I'm done, when I take them off the wheel. And if you're in the business of making pots for money, time is money. The more time you spend on the pot, the more money that pot should cost. You guys are probably going to ask me what I sell these for. Small ones are $25 and then they go up from there. So there's a ballpark. So I am going to give this one more pull just to even out my walls. I probably should have had the foot out further. Okay. And then mop up all the water. I do like to take the webbing of my fingers to soften that. I try not to have too many tools at my wheel. They get lost that way. I'm constantly hunting for tools, and I'd rather rely on my hands over tools. And there is another air bubble right there. So just move those marks out and dry off my hands. And then I like this beaker bat system because it's got a tongue, and so I can actually just line everything up with that little tongue. The bigger the bowl, sometimes the bigger the points. There you go. There's a 2-pound bowl. And then I will set that, oh, here, so you can see it. Set that aside. And you know what? I need, I'm going to do a 3-pound one. I need a bigger bat. And if you'll notice, I don't wire things off. I leave them on there. I don't wire them off until, you do have to watch them though. Don't let them get too dry. Sometimes they'll pop off if they get too dry. But if I plan to trim, I don't tend to wire everything off until leather hard or just before leather hard. In case I want to make changes. Still attached to the bat. You just can't forget that they're on there. I've been pretty lucky with the bats I use. Most of them, this one, they would not pop off. This would crack my dish. It's plastic. And so if it shrank and it's trying to pull against this plastic, it would crack. I'd get an edge crack. But my wooden ones, if life happens, if I don't get back to them, a lot of times they'll pop off. Okay, so this is a bigger one. I'm going to round off that bottom. I don't want any marks on the bottom. It's the next day and these pots are ready to trim, and I am going to do a decorative foot on this. I'm not actually trimming into this part. I actually want to add something decorative here. But if I didn't want to, the type of foot that you saw me add with the wooden rib, I could just smooth this all off. It'd be fine to go. And I am using a Giffen grip. You do have to be careful with a Giffen grip that when you distort the rim, it's harder to center the bowl. But I just make sure that I have those feet placed on the round parts of the bowl, and it seems to work pretty good. So, and then using a mud tool, it's one of my favorite trimming tools, especially for when I'm doing this type of foot. And I'm just digging, I want to lose that clay right there in the corner where it just sits and squats. This is the hardest. Moving this clay, you're always going to end up with extra clay right there in that corner. So that's the clay I'm playing with. I do hold down the center. A lot of times I will make sure these guys touch. And I am just making a decorative foot. And I'll come in here with a square tool and define the glaze line. So this is where the glaze will stop. It makes it also easier to glaze because I can hold on to it if I'm dipping. And I will take some of that clay away there. Last thing I do, so take this other part. Every time you wire something off of the bat, sometimes you don't wire straight. So I will just level this off. You could also, with this type of foot, you could also take some of this away if you have it. I might have some, but I don't have a lot. It's really hard for me to throw and leave clay there. I'm trying to use up all the clay that I put down. And I hate the time it takes to trim and then the time it takes to reclaim the trimmings. So I would rather throw to where I don't have to trim as much because it saves me time in the trimming, time in the reclaim. All right, so then I also have a plastic bag in front of me to catch all my trimmings so that I don't make a huge mess. And then I can just lift up that bag and put them in my bucket. Taking a sponge and just going over, making sure everything's clean. Take a few seconds, it only takes a few seconds to make sure your pot is as clean as you can get it. Because I don't want to touch this pot anymore. Once it goes on the shelf to dry, I don't want to touch it again until I put it in the kiln. And then I'm just taking, this is an MKM roller with this little rope design, I guess, or a ribbon design. I thought it'd look cute with these little heart balls. Just add a little extra. And then I'm just going around pressing it in. And there we go. And then the last thing I do is I'll check over the bowl. See if there's anything I need to clean up on the bowl from fingerprints when I distorted it. And then it goes on the shelf and it can dry. I don't cover these when they go on the shelf. There's nothing attached. They don't need to be covered. This is also one of my hand building tools, but it's got a really good flat bottom. For those of you having trouble, like I want to put my maker's mark in here, but I don't want to collapse the middle of my piece. So I will press that against something hard. And it did indent it a little bit, probably because of my swirl on the inside, but I can easily fix that. And I do sign these too once, I wait till they're dry to sign them. I'll just take this out, make sure I press that back down if I did press it, and then it's done. And in a second, after I get these all trimmed, I will show you how they can stack. Okay, so it's actually the next day. I tell you, this weather, we've got snow now, lots of rain, now we got snow. I will take the snow over the rain any day. So this one's actually, I threw a couple of days ago, so it's actually almost dry. But here is that foot, maybe a close-up. Kind of hard to, with the white clay. I wonder, let me pick one of these. There we go, that's better. So there's a close-up of the foot. And so it's enough of a lip. I got a clean glaze line, I can grab onto it. Gives a little bit of a decorative thing down there at the bottom. And then I will go ahead and show you these guys. All right, here's all the ones that I threw, and you can see how they can easily nest inside of each other with the 1 pound, 2 pound, 3 pound method that I did. And I mix and match, and I sell them separately. I do not sell them as sets. If they want to make a set, they can. I will display them as a set. I usually get, rather than this one with the 3, I usually sell more with the 2, especially for a wedding gift. Let's do it this way. Because female, male, you know, 2 of them together. And then I sell a lot of them, especially these little guys, just by themselves. I mean, they make great little trinket dishes, dip dishes, serving dishes, all sorts of things. You can bake in them, you know. It's just a really fun way of doing a bowl. I hope you like this video. And I'm just playing it by ear and trying to do enough to keep me sane out here and yet enough to keep my physical therapist happy. I'm one of those that he has to tell me to dial it back because I want to be out here so bad that apparently I've been pushing it. And with this knee, since it's the replacement of a replacement, I can't treat it like I did the others where I really pushed. So disappointing. Anyway, cute, right? So go get muddy, have fun, make yourself some heart bowls, either for Valentine's, for weddings, for friendship gifts, you know, just to give to a friend that, let them know you love them, all right? So we will see you in the next one.